It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, throwing bone, getting high, getting shook. I tell you folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. Ladies in the number 9 stands, jumping a rock roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif, and welcome to another installment of the 2006 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We're here from Rockingham for race number 3 out of 36 for the Subway 400. A bit of high bank action here from the short track in North Carolina as we take you to the racetrack here, joined by Nate today in the booth for the starting lineup, as it'll be Jeff Gordon in the 24 car starting from pole today, and looking down the rest of the order with Mike Bliss on his outside in second, Jeff Burton in the 99 in third place, and Regan Smith the rookie in P4. Good qualifying showing from his part. Ricky Hendrick will start in P5 side by side with his teammate Jimmy Johnson in 6th. Bobby Labonte will be in the 7th position, and Scott Wimmer in 8th. Kevin Harvick will be 9th in the 20, and Tony Stewart 10th in the 42. 11th, John Andretti in the 21 car. Nice qualifying from him. Casey Kane will be in 12th. Kurt Busch, P13 in the 01, and Mark Martin from P14. Hank Parker Jr. also a good qualifying. He'll be in the 15th position, and P16 goes to Ryan Newman. 17th will be Greg Biffle, and 18th, Jeremy Mayfield in the 26. Todd Bodine will be 19th in the 77, and Christian Elder in 20th. Robbie Gordon will be 21st, and Carl Edwards starting this race from P22. Elliott Sadler in the 23rd spot, and John Wood 24th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 25th, and Don Thompson Jr. getting the Labonte Incorporated start in the 14. He'll be 26th. Brian Vickers in the 27th spot, and Jack Sprague, his teammate, in 28th. 29th goes to Jason Leffler and Kyle Busch in 30th. Jeff Green will be in P31, and 32nd, Martin Truex Jr. 33rd will be Matt Kenseth and Ricky Rudd starting in the 34th spot. Sterling Marlin will be in 35th, and Chase Montgomery 36th. Jamie McMurray in the P37 spot, and 38th goes to Casey Atwood. That's last week's pole sitter way back there. 39th will be Ron Hornaday Jr. and Morgan Shepherd in 40th. And rounding out the field, it'll be Robert Presley in the 07 and Scott Riggs in the 57 on that final row. Taking you down to the track side for the most famous words in motorsports here in just a couple of seconds.
Drivers, start your engines.
Field roars to life here from Rockingham. And of course, a fun racetrack as always, first of 2 dates that we will be at this racing facility here in Rockingham. The one thing worth noting prior to this race, this is the toughest track on the calendar for tires. You lose so much time on the older stuff at this racetrack, and the fall off is quite ridiculous, drivers always say coming here. And this time expected to be no different, as it's a cheese grater out there today.
And we talk about it every time we come to this racetrack. Tires are vitally important, and a lot of times that's the reason you see some of these veteran drivers run well here, because they have the experience having to save your tires. So you really, really have to make sure not to burn up your stuff early in the going, so you have enough late in the run, because this track can be crazy, but it can also run green, and if it does, you have to save your stuff.
We'll see which version of Rockingham we'll get tonight. It's 110 laps here from North Carolina. Jeff Gordon into the box, and we're green here from Rockingham. First lap completed off of turn number 4. Everybody kept it clean in the back. Jeff Gordon leads from pole. Outside line falling backwards as is expected. We saw Regan Smith lose a ton of positions from the 4th position back there. That outside really not working early as drivers are falling backwards to start.
That's the experience that we talk about, how you have to make sure that you know exactly where you're going here, because you don't want to get back in traffic. It can be hard to pass. You got to make sure that you don't.
Oh, contact up there, and around goes a 22. Kenseth into the wall, wrecking hard on the front stretch. This is going to be big. Handful of cars around, going across the start-finish line, and we are under caution for the first time. Both of the Bill Davis cars were in it. We saw Matt Kenseth in it, Christian Elder as well. John Wood in the 6, the 14, and others involved on that crash on the front stretch. And we are under caution quickly.
And as many cars as that involved, a lot of guys near the back did a really good job of getting it woed down. That could have been much bigger.
Absolutely. Thought it was going to be a much bigger crash than it was, but still a fairly sizable accident. We saw the contact up there involving the 26 and 23. That was Joni Mayfield up the racetrack, kind of getting sideways up there and couldn't avoid the 23, back down into the 22 at the inside wall. Saw Sterling Marlin going around, and of course his teammate involved in it as well. Matt Kenseth was straight into the outside wall, collected Jamie McMurray as well, who smacked that outside fence. 0, 6, 33, 43, and others, just everybody piling into it, managing to slow it down as best as they could. Seeing a lot of young guns back there involved in that crash as well. We saw, I believe, 3 separate rookies involved in that accident, or at the very least, no, definitely 68 involved in it as well. It was the 2 and the 8 car got a little tiny piece of it as well. That's be Martin Truex Jr. up on the outside there, and a handful of others involved in that lap 3 crash.
And as tough as this racetrack is, it's important to note it's not very wide. So whenever you get a big crash like that, it's very, very hard to get it slowed down. But a lot of guys did a good job back there trying to minimize the damage, but for a lot of guys, their day's done very early.
Absolutely, and now we'll see what happens on the restarts. Rockingham usually drivers struggle with the marbles, of course. Tires are so important here, and it's really easy to slip the tires on the restart, so we'll see who ends up getting in the wall. We always get at least one on a restart. But Jeff Gordon going to lead the majority of the field down in the pits. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 will stay out to take the race lead. But the rest of the field coming into the pits here on lap number 5. And your pole sitter, the 24, in early.
And we'll see what the alternate strategy for the 48 and the 16. We'll see how that plays out, because it is only 5 laps. But 5 laps at this racetrack is a lot of time. And that could be the difference at the end of the run.
Absolutely.
Gordon, a pretty slow stop there.
Seeing a lot of guys not take tires there. This handful up in front of the 24, 81, 38, 25, 18, 99, all on no tires. And a handful of drivers staying out. A couple of the drivers who were involved in that crash also staying out. 14, 6, 0 of the drivers, 68 and 43. Quite a handful of drivers who were involved in that crash staying out under this yellow, but Jimmy Johnson in the 48 will be your race leader, and we'll take you to intermission early here from Rockingham after that early caution. Back from intermission here at Rockingham as we prepare to take the next green flag. It'll be Jimmy Johnson in the race lead. Looking at your top 5, it goes 48, 16, 44, 4, and 97. Hank Parker Jr., one of the drivers that stayed out, as well as Brian Vickers. And all the drivers back to the 43 stayed out. 99, 5, 18, 20, 38, 81 on no tires. Jeff Gordon and Elliott Sadler, the first on 2. Coming back to the restart here, as Jimmy Johnson will lead the field to the green. Lap number 8 on the restart, and pace car gonna peel in as Johnson taking the field into the restart box, and we're back underway again. See who runs it in the fence here. Carl Edwards in the 97 is gonna jump up to the outside, and he gets the wall. 07 and 68 also in the fence. That's Presley and Montgomery. Contact with Harvick, but they got through it. A lot of stacking up here. Bobby Labonte having to duck out of line. He's up top 3 wide. A lot of stacking up in the back end of the field, but everybody keeps it sorted through. Meanwhile, at the front, top 4 break away a little bit as Johnson leads.
And we'll see how this strategy works for them later down the line. But how about Hank Parker Jr. up there in 4th place? Hanging up there with the leaders. That's a good run for him.
Absolutely. Had a top 5 finish at Daytona and DNQ'd the very next race. That was Homestead last week, so a good rebound for the 14. As they look to try to find a spot in the top 30 in owners' points. A couple of these damaged cars who stayed out now in the pits to repair their damage, deciding that they couldn't drive those things in the conditions that they were. 96, 68, 07, and 0. All in the pits that time. Scheduled pit stops, but unfortunate for them. All drivers who stayed out with damage from that crash, and looking like they evidently decided that they couldn't drive it in that condition. Ron Hornaday Jr. in the 78 is now 5th. And John Wood, another one of the damaged cars, he runs 6th, and Kyle Busch, also a little bit involved in that caution, is 7th. Jeff Burton, the first of the pitters, he's moved up to the 8th position. Saw Carl Edwards in the pits there as well. He was one of the ones who had damage from getting the wall, so he pits in as well. A lot of unscheduled pit stops there. Well, scheduled, but not exactly when you would want to take them, for sure.
Absolutely, and you got to think, with the field starting to spread out now, there's a chance that this could go green for a while, so you don't want to have to pit too early, but unfortunately for some of those guys, just it was a reality waiting to set in.
Absolutely. See Christian Elder in the 0 car without a rear bumper joining the racetrack in front of the 48. Carl Edwards is also right in front there, but the 97 seems to have some pace, so we'll see if he stays on the lead lap. Meanwhile, Johnson chasing down the 0. Top 2 have spread out a little bit, and further back is Vickers in 3rd. Hank Parker Jr., his Alliance teammate, not too far behind. And 5th, still belonging to the 78, Kyle Busch. Up and into 6th, as Wood still coping with his damage, starting to fall backwards a little bit. And problems for Casey Kane, reporting a fuel system issue over the radio. Some sort of issue with their engine, and they seem to be down on power now. So a lot of issues early for a lot of teams.
Significantly down on power. He looks like he's just trying to get out of the way. So maybe he can make it down pit road, but still stuck on the outside. He's going to have to let this whole pack of cars go. Unfortunate issue for a driver who last season was very close to winning a championship in his rookie season.
Absolutely. So struggling to find an opening onto the bottom, but he is planning to pit once he gets a bit of clear traffic, but that isn't for a little bit longer. A couple of those damaged cars behind him who are involved in that first yellow flag. Still under green flag conditions right now. All clear on the western front. 48 car of Jimmy Johnson still comfortably leading this race. It's Biffle and Vickers, 2nd and 3rd. The 4 of Parker Jr. not too far behind, really putting some wheel in it out of turn number 2 there. And 5th place is still Hornaday Jr., but Kyle Busch slowly closing in on him in the T-Mobile 43 car. But a lot of race left here from Rockingham, as these two leaders still very close for 1st and 2nd.
And a lot of strategy to play out as well. This is one of those tracks where in addition to the tires, when it goes green, usually the cycles can happen very late into the race. So you have to be able to set your car up for a long run, but figure out how to still have it be fast on a short run.
Yeah, absolutely. And since all the field's spread out here, we're seeing a lot more calmer driving at the moment and expecting maybe a little bit one of those longer green flag runs, barring any sort of mechanical issues, as Kane has still been trying to find a way into pit road. He has not gone down yet. Biffle all over the back bumper. The 48 for the race lead entering turn 3 there. Looked high, looked low, up underneath, maybe put a bit of a back bumper to him as they're side by side for the lead now.
Wanted that clean air. He realized he was catching the 48, didn't want to stick behind him too long, and he's going to bring Jimmy's teammate Brian Vickers along with him, and potentially Hank Parker Jr.
And we got a problem for the doubles, or the 07. That is Robert Presley, who is going to be stopped on the racetrack, and that will bring out a second caution of the day. Bad day.
And all that talk about a potential long green flag run out the window as the 07 had a failing engine. So we'll see what
Kane, though. He just pit in.
Absolutely.
So, man, wishing he probably wishing he could have stayed out a little bit longer, because that caution came out right as he went in. But he might be able to get away and stay on the lead lap here. We'll see.
We'll see. It's been about 15 laps since the last caution, so we'll see what kind of strategy it holds, and if the guys who pitted on that lap 5 caution would be able to stay out. But it looks like most of the field coming in this time.
Yeah, field will bring it down pit road. Kane did get out of his pit box and get that problem fixed for the most part. We'll see what his pace is like now, and he should stay close to the lead lap. I believe he is actually exactly 1 lap down. Yes, he is, and will be the lucky dog from the looks of things. Pit stops taking place for the race leaders, 44 and 48 in the pits. And unsurprising that the whole field came in that time after a fairly long run on those tires. Jeff Gordon in the 24 pulling into his box there, and Jimmy Johnson to lead the field off of pit road by a comfortable amount over the 16 of Greg Biffle.
Really, really good stop for that 48 team. They set sail down the exit of that pit road. They came in nose to tail, and he comes out a wide margin ahead of the rest of the field. So good job by that team.
Tell you what, missing in the frame, I think we had another issue on pit road. Hank Parker Jr. Yes, indeed. And another incident on pit road. We saw the 21 earlier get in one, and yeah, just mashed between the 22 and 28 here, and that is such a tough break. That team is having a great run today.
Yeah, really, really, really unfortunate. He was flying, and he was catching those guys. He really, really had a good car. We'll see what kind of speed it has now, but it's going to be hard to get back up to where he was. That is very, very unfortunate.
Take it to intermission here, Jimmy Johnson. Still comfortably your race leader. We'll be right back here from Rockingham. Back here at Rockingham once again as we prepare to take the next green flag. Jimmy Johnson in the race lead. Looking down the rest of the top 5, it'll be Biffle, Vickers, Bush, and Hornaday, your top 5. Hendrick, Burton, Harvick, Sadler, and Earnhardt Jr. round out the top 10 as we come back to the restart here. A lot of drivers a lap down. Unsurprising with all those guys who were involved in that caution that pit under green flag conditions. The pace car going to peel off here, and we will get back going here as we head into the restart box. Lap number 25, and we are back underway. A great start for the 48 there. Hornaday Jr. jumping low right on the start.
Hornaday going to try to look under Brian Vickers. He's here for third. Not quite able to do it, but a couple cars in the wall back there. Everybody seems to have kept it straight, though.
88 and 99 were the cars in the fence there and falling backwards as a result. Was wondering if Hornaday Jr. was going to get flagged for passing on underneath before the line there, but it looks like he just about kept it behind the 43. And man, what a run as he pulls up to the back of the 44. Vickers for third. Seeing some guys start to filter up through the field in the better equipment here. 5 and 20 joining this party up front. That's 5th and 6th. Elliott Sadler fighting with Bobby Labonte, the Daytona 500 winner, for 7th. Tightly knit in that group, but the leaders spread out once again. Jimmy Johnson pulling away from Biffle a little bit. Was the 16 pulling up on Johnson to pass him for the lead right before the caution, before the 48 leapfrogged him into the pits. Wondering if the 16 maybe has a slightly better long run car. And now we got another problem. Oh, one of Kurt Busch is blowing up.
And on the apron, but
that'll bring out another caution. He's not going to make it back. And we're under caution again for another mechanical problem. Busch down an engine. Ganassi struggling to open up this season. Caution flag is out again. Johnson leads Biffle at the line.
Man, it is really early in this race to be having so many mechanical failures. I wonder what the problem is. But nonetheless, it's going to bunch the field back up together, and we'll see if anybody comes down pit road. You know, tires are vitally important here. Not a very long run, however, so we'll see what the strategy looks like.
We'll see the 31 of Robbie Gordon looking like he's going to duck in here, as will Todd Bodine of the 77. Not sure if it'll be anybody else other than these guys who are going to pit in here. Maybe a couple others, maybe not. Doesn't seem like that will be the case. Maybe a back marker or two. 55 and 38 will pit again. Tell you what, though, Robbie Gordon pitting in. If there's anyone I'd want to follow on strategy, it would be this guy. But he appears to have taken fuel only, and he did, so looking like just top-offs for these drivers who are pitting in. Although the 77 was taking tires, poured fuel for Bodine and his Jasper machine. Casey Kane going to take tires as well. Here's Sprague in the 55. Looking like fuel only on his part. Although maybe some repairs, because it looked like the right side was a little dented on that machine. So Gordon, fuel only, tires for Bodine, tires for Kane, no tires for Jack Sprague. We'll take you back to intermission here once again. Lucky Dog is going to go to the 97 of Carl Edwards, and we'll be right back here from Rockingham. Back from intermission here at Rockingham as we take it to the next restart. Jimmy Johnson still your race leader and Greg Biffle still second. Vickers still in third, Hornaday fourth, and fifth belongs to Ricky Hendrick, Harvick, Labonte, Sadler, Newman, and Busch. Your top 10. After Kurt Busch lost the motor to bring out that last caution. Pace car going to peel off, lap number 33 at the line. And the 48 leads us to another green flag heading into the restart box. And we are back underway again. Biffle throwing a block on Vickers early. Trying to keep the second Hendrick car at bay as he's in that Hendrick sandwich. Meanwhile, the 5 in the wall, as is the 12. Look out. Contact! Sliding sideways, and Kyle Busch goes around in front of the field. This is going to be a big one now.
Into turn 3.
Everybody piling into it. Upside down is Ricky Hendrick in the 5.
Hendrick back on his wheels and somehow is still going. But a major crash started because Ricky Hendrick came off the wall, 3 wide, and it just, nobody was going to hold it completely there.
That one wrecked everybody.
Yeah, most of the field, 10th on back, was in that wreck.
See Kane involved in it, stuck on the 26 and 31, and absolutely nowhere for anyone to go. You talk about this track being narrow, it's at its worst going into turn 3. Hendrick off the wall, Busch. If anything, I think Hendrick stayed mostly up there. The 43 kind of came up into him. Scott Riggs got away very lucky there. And this is where just everybody can't stop. 26 piles into it, and it just goes on from there. And Hendrick popped up onto his roof. It was a 26 that got driven into by the 31 and the 4 as well, and everybody involved in that one.
Yeah, there's going to be a big disparity in speed now from about the top 15 back. So definitely going to see some lappers, and when that happens, that could mean a lot for this race as well. We talk about the strategy, but after that big crash, it's not easy to get around guys here. Lap traffic could definitely play a factor.
A lot of holds in the pits there, and Brian Vickers is going to win the race off of pit road. Don't believe any of the leaders stayed out. No, all these drivers are lap cars here. And the 21 will be Lucky Dog. I'll have to check on the Lucky Dog, but we'll get back to that in just a little bit. And Brian Vickers in the 44 will be the race leader here as we take you back to intermission after that pit cycle. Back from intermission here at Rockingham, and before we take you to the restart here, we'd love to give a shout out to the lucky dog winner. That'd be the 0 car of Christian Elder, and this is how he did it. An absolutely insane avoidance of this crash on the backstretch. Just wanted to take you on board for this as he managed to find a way through it, as it was a smoke screen up in front, and he somehow threaded this gap. No idea how he pulled that off.
Unbelievable. And as you look behind at the carnage, the zero gets away unscathed. Unbelievable from Christian Elder. And as a reward, will get his lap back and start at the tail end.
Absolutely going to be back on the lead lap here as we'll be resuming this race. Brian Vickers, winner of the race off of pit road, will be your race leader, the sophomore 44 driver. Greg Biffle will be in second place. It'll be Harvick third, Hornaday fourth, and Johnson, bit of a poor pit stop, had to hold on release there as we were focusing him in the pit cycles. He'll be in fifth. Top 10 is going to be Labonte, Sadler, Jr., Riggs, and Stewart. A lot of shiftings and a lot of cars out of this race. Just 30 left in it and 25 left on the lead lap. Pace car peels off. It'll be a different Hendrick car up front now as we're back green here from Rockingham. Biffle again throwing a block on the third place car. That's Harvick, who's going to drive him up the racetrack. He kind of didn't take too kindly to that block. Biffle kept it out of the wall, if only just, but he falls backwards. Tony Stewart was the next one in the fence back there. Seems like everybody else kept it clean, just about.
Got a Hornaday going for second place. That's 78. It's got some speed. Look at that. Great run.
By him. No doubt about it.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well having a very good run today, going for the fourth spot on Kevin Harvick.
Scott Riggs and Elliott Sadler have been in the top 10 for portions of today, and Scott Riggs narrowly avoided being a big part of that crash that brought out the last caution. He was right in the middle of it and got ping-ponged a little bit, but survived, and now he's in the top 10. Junior joins the top 5. Hornaday trying to track down the sophomore driver, the 44, Brian Vickers, who has ran away with the lead for the moment.
Worth mentioning for Scott Riggs, he started this race in dead last, and it's all the way up fighting for a top 5, so there was a vote for driver of the day. It very well might be Scott Riggs. Very, very good run for him today.
Absolutely, another second-year driver, and he has shown out here today. And I mean, we did see a driver win from last in the Daytona 500. Bobby Labonte did so. So you never know, but a lot of racing left, of course. We are not even halfway in this race yet. Jimmy Johnson in the 48, who had that poor pit stop, is still tumbling backwards. He's stuck on the outside at the moment. His main rival of this race, Greg Biffle, getting around him and moving up a spot. He also fell backwards a little bit on that last restart after getting shoved up the racetrack. And, man, Brian Vickers in control of this race at the moment.
And I don't know if it was just because he was stuck on the outside, but it looked like Jimmy Johnson was going pretty slow down the straightaway. I'm not sure if there's a problem with that race car, although he seems to have it more up to speed now. But you have to wonder about the 48. He has tumbled very far down the order.
Yeah, a bit of a struggle on this run. And he has gotten it back going now in 14th ahead of Tony Stewart. Gonna need to retire the 6 car from this race as he is having some issues and looking like they're gonna be unable to fix that thing up. So John Wood gonna retire from the race despite his best efforts to try and repair that race car. He is gonna merge one more time before he brings it back down to the pit lane, so Brian Vickers is gonna have to look out for him on the backstretch here as he does rejoin the racetrack. Gives him a lane on the outside. Tough break for Vickers, loses a bit of time there to the 6. Hornaday Jr. in a fight for second place now between him and Bobby Labonte as they head down the front stretch here. Dale Jr. in this mix as well in the 88.
And Kevin Harvick just drove it in from about 4 car lengths back and was able to fill that hole. He saw an opportunity there, and he went for it. Very, very good move from Kevin Harvick.
Absolutely, getting opportunistic early. John Wood retires from the race. He's checking up on the back end of the field, and other updates worth noting. Lucky Dog belongs to the 28 of Mark Martin at the moment, who runs in the 25th position in that 28 car. He's not in a fight for it really at all. The next car is Don Thompson Jr., who's a bit of a ways behind. in the 14 and pretty heavily damaged. Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to run down Vickers, who still leads this race.
It seems as if they are catching. So as this run progresses, it seems like Vickers might have more of a short run car. Labonte has been very, very quick these past few laps. Dale Jr. though, pounding that rear bumper. He really wants to get by. It's been a rough go for Dale Jr. recently. It would be very important for him if he could get in victory lane.
Absolutely. It's been a long time since we saw Dale Jr. in a car that could be competitive, and I mentioned it at Daytona. Really happy to join this Yates organization. It was something he looked forward to for a long time after signing that contract last year to join them for a couple of seasons. Contract through 2007 and has sponsorship for both of those years confirmed with that Hard Rock Cafe 88, and is looking opportunistic for this season, and optimistic for this season, it should be said, and looking no different to his expectations at the moment, running in third sandwich between the two quick Gibbs cars, 18 and 20, as Bobby Labonte has pulled all the way up to the back bumper of the 44 of Brian Vickers.
And not only has he pulled up there, he showed the nose there for a minute, couldn't keep the power down, but he's letting the sophomore driver know he's there and he's looking. The 2000 champion all over the back bumper now has fallen back a little bit, but very, very fast 18 car.
So maybe going to see a battle for the lead soon. Fifth place currently now belongs to Jeff Gordon, who has been trying to find his way throughout the field since dropping back early on that very first caution to pit when most of the field didn't, or at least a portion of the field didn't, and now up and into the fifth place. Scott Riggs in sixth, Hornaday still holding strong in seventh. Casey Atwood, who started this race a bit of a ways back down in the order, he runs eighth right now. Jason Leffler in the 00 holds on to ninth, and the last spot in the top 10 belongs to Mike Bliss in the 81, so Gibbs has all their cars in the top 10. And a good run for the 81 team. Vickers still holding strong. Labonte pulled up to the back of him for a couple of laps there, but fell off again. It's really a game of yo-yo at this racetrack. It's so hard to hit laps consistently, and the entry point is so difficult here, trying to find a line that works. You run a little too low, there's not enough grip, and you're kind of cutting the corner a little too short, but you run high, there's a lot of marbles up there. So it's really just a matter of trying to find a lane that works. Labonte seems to have found something that works and pulled right back up again. But just keeping it is such a struggle, and passing is even harder.
And especially in 1 and 2. 3 and 4 you can move around a little more, but it's really follow the leader through 1 and 2 because you don't want to get too high into the marbles. The wall will suck you right in. And so you have to be very careful to get turns 1 and 2 right every time you go through, because you will lose so much time if you don't.
Absolutely. So just a matter of which one of these drivers can run the best line for the most amount of laps in a row. It is 44, 18, 20 as Harvick, while we were looking away at the rest of the top 10, found a way to get past the 88 for third. And Jeff Gordon
all over the bumper for the lead.
Absolutely, right up there. And
shows the nose.
Find his way underneath.
He does get underneath, and he's going to go to the race lead. Textbook pass for the lead from Bobby Labonte, the veteran, who is a champion of this sport.
Fighting
Vickers
back on the outside.
Fight on the outside. Gonna take the lead right back.
Man,
Impressive
he got him
move.
back. What a move by Vickers, and he's got first again.
He has to keep the power down on exit on the top, and he does. Brian Vickers showing the veteran how it's done. Great move.
That was impressive.
Man on a mission. He had a forgettable rookie season, is sitting right now in the 30s in points. He needs a good run today. He has something to prove. And if he needed to prove something, he's proving it right now, leading this race. Very good run for Brian Vickers.
Absolutely no slouch on the racetrack today. The top 5 still bunching up, as I was trying to mention before the 18 made the challenge for the lead. Jeff Gordon in the 24 has pulled all the way up to this top group. So has Scott Riggs in the 57. He's pulled that Texas Instruments DLP machine up with him, and it's now top 6. Not too far apart right now, although the top 2 of Vickers and Labonte have broken away a little bit here. But Scott Riggs with a solid run at the moment. And Hornaday still back there in 7th. Atwood still holding on to the 8th position. Jimmy Johnson doing his best to pick up spots again, as is Biffle. 9th for the 48, and Biffle in 11th, trying to work on Stewart for 10th. Tightly knit battle back there for the last couple spots just outside the top 5. Vickers still comfortable in the lead despite the pressure from the veteran right behind him. And Labonte running it a little too low. As we talked about, it's difficult to run it down there, and Vickers pulls away again off of turn 2.
And for Labonte, you know, you would think this is the kind of race that would play into his hands. You know, being a guy who's been around a long time, you're gonna be able to hit your marks better than somebody who maybe doesn't know these cars as well. But Brian Vickers has done an outstanding job so far in this race of keeping the tires on it, not burning them up too much, even with the challenges for the lead, and was able to make a beautiful move around the outside to get it right back.
Man, tell you what, the 18 drove it in turn 3 that time, though, and he pulls right back up to the back bumper of the 44.
What a corner from Bobby Labonte. Was well back, now was pulled right to the back bumper. But not able to keep the power down in 1 and 2, going to lose a little bit of time. Gordon has now made that pass for 4th.
Absolutely has. 24 moves up a position. Dale Jr. not looking too slow, but kind of just dropping positions here and there to the guys who have got just maybe a little bit of a better race car, and especially that 24 who is so far back at a point in this race is pulled all the way back up into this fight for the lead. 18 trying to find a way around on the outside, doing what Vickers did to him a handful of laps ago. He's there. That pulls Harvick up into the mix, though, and the 20 gets past his teammate.
And going to try to bring Gordon through as well. Remember, Gordon did win the pole of this race. Very, very fast race car underneath him. Just got stuck back in traffic, but has driven through the field masterfully. That 24 might have something to win this race.
All the Hendrick cars are looking bad fast in this race. They've all led pretty much for the most part. Vickers in control right now, but he's got 2 fast veterans right behind him, Harvick and Gordon directly behind in the 20 and 24, putting the pressure on him, but nobody has been able to find a way around that CarQuest Chevrolet up front. But now might be the chance. Harvick trying to look to the outside, do what his teammate did earlier. Vickers trying to force him up a little bit, and it kind of worked for him. Gordon up the middle. Junior almost took it 3 wide. 24 to second place now.
You know, Junior going to follow through for 3rd as both the Gibbs cars fall back a couple of positions. The Hendrick car is now 1-2 for, and that organization has been on fire today. Every single one of their cars has been fast.
And looking like it's going to be a pit stop for the leader, Brian Vickers. Hand out the window, and he pulls in. Takes Riggs with him. A great entry for the 57 car there.
Fantastic entry for Riggs, who has had a phenomenal race from the last starting spot, it must be said. Vickers leading this race, and we've talked a lot about him, but Scott Riggs, a phenomenal job.
Absolutely no traffic for him to contend with either coming out of the pits. Dale Jr. in the 88 back there just came in, so the top 3 is now Gordon, Labonte, and Harvick, who all stay on the racetrack. Vickers getting 4 tires and fuel on that machine, and will leave his pit stall behind.
But definitely a bit of time gain for Scott Riggs.
Do believe Vickers had the better pit stop, though. Left the pits a little bit further in front of the 57 than they were on entry.
Yes, very good stop for the Vickers team. We'll see where he cycles out as more cars start to hit pit road.
Still waiting for the race leaders, though. 24 still on the racetrack. 18 looking like he might come in here. No.
Looked like he maybe wanted to, but couldn't because Elder was down there. But that could just be the tire difference. As
Probably
Gordon,
is. You can see how much the zero car gains here coming off of turn 2 this time.
As Gordon, still waiting for him, he has he has some clean track if he wants to get down, but not quite.
Doesn't seem like he wants to anyway, because none of this top 3 has come in yet.
And we'll see how far they're willing to stretch it before they decide they need to come in. But it could... The overcut is something that it can work, but it also can be catastrophic if it goes wrong, because you'll get fresher tires, but if you're not running fast enough around this racetrack, you will lose a ton of time. So
Absolutely.
we'll see how the overcut works out for these guys. We'll see, and we'll also see if Vickers does cycle out to the race lead, like for the moment we expect. But Gordon looks to be pulling away from the Gibbs cars, so
Yeah, absolutely.
nice motor.
You expect, though, these guys that stay out this long, of course, it's really tough to say because the overcut can pay off so much given how much faster you'll be on the longer run. Also could be playing into the fuel game here, not entirely sure, but it's also worth considering the fact that these guys are running 2.5 seconds off of their best times right now. These tires are destroyed. That's always how this racetrack plays out. And the 44 car out there running his best laps right now. Got a little bit of traffic to contend with, and Riggs honestly putting the pressure on him. Here comes the 57 around the outside. This is for what could be the net lead, trying to go around the 00, who hasn't pit yet, and Riggs just passed Vickers on the outside.
How about Scott Riggs from the last starting spot passing Brian Vickers outright? What a run for Scott Riggs.
And with how this plays out, that could end up being the net race lead, as all of the leaders are going to come in now.
And we'll see. We'll see where Vickers and Riggs come out, but man, that is very impressive from the last starting spot for Scott Riggs. He has dragged that 57 all the way to the potential race lead.
No matter which way you cut it, it's worth emphasizing. No way you can overstate how impressive of a run that is for him. We'll see if he comes out in front of these guys for the lead. There's been a lot of traffic in front of these guys, but they're only running a couple of tenths off their best times. So definitely something to consider as Riggs coming around here.
Struggling to find a way around Chase Montgomery.
Tell you what, actually, these guys are on the same lap that the 24 was on leaving the pits. I believe this is going to be the net race lead. And it is! 57 first place!
But has a hungry Brian Vickers right on his tail. So he's going to have to do a good job trying to maneuver through the traffic here. But how about that for Scott Riggs? What a run so far for both of these guys, really. But from the last starting spot in that car, I can't overstate how fantastic of a run this is for Scott Riggs.
Two young guns looking for something to prove. Here's the 44 trying to find a way around the outside. Do it. Scott Riggs did to him a handful of laps ago. He looks to the top side entering turn 3. Couldn't find the grip on entry. Does he have it in the middle?
Not quite.
He does not have to get out of the throttle, and Riggs holds him off.
Riggs has been looking to try to find a way around Mark Martin. Hasn't been able to do it. But it looks like Mark going to try to pull away with those fresher tires now as Mike Bliss gets underneath Vickers here. Vickers not going to have the preferred lane.
Bliss
He's going to slip back further.
81 just left the pits, so he's also got a lot fresher tires than either of these guys. Dale Jr., I believe, has some fresher stuff himself. He pit just a couple of laps later than the 54. Or excuse me, it's not 54, excuse me, 44 and 57. So, gonna have a shot to contend with these guys up front right now. And even if either of these guys don't win this race, it has been nothing short of impressive for both of them.
And a big confidence boost for the both of them, and it's hard to really put it into perspective enough, but confidence is such an important part of being a race car driver. It's really hard when you have it in your own head that you're struggling to get those good runs, and this is a much needed confidence boost for both of these drivers.
Riggs all over the house trying to find a way around the 4 car as they leave turn number 4. Hank Parker Jr. staying in front of these race leaders. All three of them are under wraps. It's Jr., Vickers, and Riggs for the race lead right now. Vickers trying to get rid of this buffer between him and the 57, although Bliss might do it himself. No, not quite. But just what a run for all of these guys. Kyle Busch has also had himself a solid day. He's slowly closing up. Again, I think it's just a matter of traffic. It's not even really that these leaders are all that slow, because Vickers has stayed with the 88. But Dale Jr. with a chance, couldn't quite get around. Maybe second breath in the middle of the corner here. Dead heat down the backstretch for the race lead between these two Fords.
And Dale Jr., another one who's needed a good run, and finally got that opportunity to race a car that he knew could put him in victory lane, and has now put it in the race lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr., could this be the day where the fans can finally rejoice? We will see. That 88 appears to have plenty of speed in the tank.
Absolutely, and he's starting to run away from these two now. Kyle Busch has pulled up on the 44 and 57. Biffle is pretty quick, not too far behind. 6 belongs to Atwood. Sterling Marlin, who was involved in the very first caution of this race, is all the way in 7th. Hornaday still holds on to a top 10 spot. It's 9th place Jeff Burton, and 10th belongs to Sadler in the 83. And Martin Truex Jr. without a hood on the front of his 8 car in 11th. Worth noting, just took a little bit of a look at him, and no hood, P11, a good run for him as well. The guys who are really fast in the lead on the best tires on the racetrack, 20, 24, 18, outside of the top 10 right now, and so much racetrack between them and the leaders. You have to wonder if it was the wrong move.
And it very well could have been. There's just, it's a lot of ground to make up, and I'm not sure there's enough laps for them to do it. But Dale Jr. has absolutely ran away with this race lead once he was able to get it.
Well, you talk about it. Looks like the 99 had a tire go down here, but nobody in the way. Looks like he got it back to the pits safely. He did. So racetrack stays green. That's a tough break for Burton, who was in the top 10. Has a tire go down, but the racetrack stays green. Lucky break for the leaders.
And especially Dale Jr., because he has so much clean track to work with right now. He can really just put it on cruise control and focus on hitting his marks, because he is well far ahead of Riggs.
Absolutely, it is a huge margin. I just think that it was the 88 really on the better stuff because he pit later. He did it just perfect. He was out just a handful of laps longer than these guys who really short pit, the two main race leaders, as Vickers is dropped all the way down to 5th. It was the wrong move to stay out too long, and it was the wrong move to come in too early. Dale Jr. timed it pretty much perfect, it seems like. Not really any traffic for him to deal with in pit road, and just timed it right, and now he is way in front. Jeff Burton just rejoined the racetrack right in front of the 57, who's still 2nd. Kyle Busch holds on to 3rd right now.
And not only could this be a big confidence boost to Dale Jr. himself, but the entire Yates 88 team, because it was a year to forget last year with Dale Jarrett, and this team really has needed a momentum boost, a shot in the arm, and this could be the day to give it to him. Dale Jr. well far ahead right now. We'll see if Riggs can reel him in, but Dale Jr. clean and green right now.
He's running 2 to 3 tenths faster a lap than every single other one of the members of the top 5 right now.
And just a fantastic strategy call atop that pit box, because Dale Jr. still running significantly faster than the field. He just has to hope this thing goes green to the end.
68 car went into the pits there. Might we see one more pit stop is an interesting question. And the most notable mark of that, do the 18, 20, and 24 make it?
That is a good question. They pit they pit, and you never know.
We will see. They
And
did
if
it
he's-
later than everybody.
Now, a fuel mileage finish would really throw a wrench into the plans of every crew chief, because I think it's maybe a little too early to start telling you guys to save some fuel, but if that does become a concern, you got to think about telling your guys to back off a little bit.
And the 57 and 43 are going to dive into the pit lane. So does the leader, Dale Jr.
So we will see another pit stop in this race. I don't expect that these guys can stay out 16 more laps.
They're going to be tough to see. Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, not the leader yet, although I believe he will be this time, as Biffle is looking like he's going to come in from what was the lead. And he will. So 24 comfortably in front of everybody else. Jeff Gordon now has the lead.
And back with the Gibbs cars, the one who split them up, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, who has rebounded.
But none of them are even close to this 24 car now.
No, Jeff's in his own zip code right now. And you have to wonder how long they can stretch it. They stayed out significantly longer than the field, but I'm not sure they can stay out this whole time. But we'll see. We'll see what that 24 team and company have up their sleeve.
Now the question is, they're going to be pitting so late, at least if they do come in, it'll be within the final 10, maybe even final 5 laps. 2 tires, maybe even no tires. Does that get you the lead here? But with how slow you're going to be on the old stuff, is it worth it?
Well, we saw earlier guys running, 2.5 seconds faster than those without tires. So you have to make sure, if you're Jeff Gordon, you might be able to get away with it because of the gap that you have. But if you're any one of these guys other than Jeff Gordon, I'm not sure that it's even worth risking it, because you're going to lose so much time on the racetrack, even within that small window of laps.
Absolutely. So we will see how that goes for him. Racetrack still clean and green as the 24 continuing to lead this race. I know they did stay out quite a long time, but I don't think it was 16 laps longer than the rest of the guys who came in. But it might have been close. We'll see.
And we'll see how long they're willing to stretch it, and if they've maybe been saving some fuel. Looks like Gordon might come in this time. Nope, was just running low. Was just running a little lower that time, but they're going to continue to stretch the fuel. We'll see how much Gordon's got in the tank and if they can go further than their previous fuel run.
Yeah, I just think he's conserving right now a little bit. He's running so low on the racetrack, which is usually the slower line, but just trying to find a way that's as short around the racetrack as possible. Running a little higher that time, but just doing what you can. You gotta see if you can try to make it work. And if you can make it work, great. You're in a great position and it's gonna work out for you. But at the end of the day, this 24 car was around the back end of the top 10 and still be a good result. But you might as well gamble. It's early in the season. You got a lot of races left to salvage, even if you do end up screwing up. Why not go for something here?
You might as well, because again, like you said, it's early in the season. There's not a whole lot on the line right now, but it could be a very, very big momentum boost in a strategy victory like that, because it gives you a lot of confidence moving forward for the races that do end up going green, that you can make decisions that most teams usually wouldn't make.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Gordon continues on the racetrack. As the laps wind down, you start to wonder, maybe these guys could have enough. But Dale Jr. is reeling these guys in. I don't know if he can get to Gordon.
He is a lap down, it is worth noting. He's still -1 on
He
these
is.
leaders.
So he will need a pit stop. But you start to wonder. There's Harvick running lower that time. Looks like he will stay out.
He will.
But now 6 laps to go. Gordon still on the racetrack. You start to wonder, maybe there's a chance that they've saved the perfect amount.
Getting closer. We'll see if he gets down to it. It'll be 5 laps to go this time by, and he's still running a line to stay on the track. 20 staying on as well. 48 stays on as well. Just absolutely running every last drop out of those race cars. Lap car Carl Edwards is coming up on the 24 here. Looking to try to find a way around. If he ends up going up, we'll see if Gordon ends up having the hand out the window. Once again, he doesn't. Meanwhile, Dale Jr. has been backed up to the rest of the group of this group of guys who has been sort of net top 5. It's Greg Biffle right behind him, so this could be the potential battle for the win if these guys run out. 16:43 right behind Dale Jr. in the 88. Scott Riggs not too far off either. Trying to find a way around all these leaders. Jeff Gordon coming to 3 laps to go. He's still on the track. Dale Jr. getting around the 18 of Bobby Labonte, who is getting split by the 16 and 43 now. That little buffer helps, trying to run away from these guys. Biffle getting chased all the way up the racetrack and backed up to Scott Riggs, trying to find a way around.
Gordon remains on the racetrack.
Still on the track, 2 laps to go.
And he is running significantly slower in the 26s. But with only 2 laps to go, start to wonder
if he can stay on the racetrack,
he may very well
he might have it.
Looks to be still under power. He's going to keep it on the racetrack to the white flag. Jeff Gordon, only 1 more lap.
Last lap for the 24 car, trying to make it on fumes. Bobby Labonte a little bit of a ways behind. If he starts to sputter, it's going to be heartbreak for everybody else. Specifically this 88 car who comes up right behind him, but through 3 and 4 for the final time. He can coast from here, and Jeff Gordon will win it here at Rockingham as he comes up the victor. A masterclass of a strategy for the 24 team. He wins it here in North Carolina. An unbelievable call by him, the 18 and the 20, as well as the 48 to make it home on fuel. What a run for them. 5th place belongs to Tony Stewart. Newman will be in 6th, another driver making it on the strategy, as well as Sprague. 8th will be Jason Leffler, a great run for him. 9th, Mike Bliss, and the last driver in the top 10, Dale Jr.
I cannot believe that strategy worked. I thought there was no way they could stay out as long as they did.
Unbelievable. And after well over an hour, we've been live for just a bit over an hour. We finally come to a close, and Jeff Gordon, the winner, just running that thing on fumes. They had to have been within 2 laps of running out of gas.
Yeah, that thing had to have been on empty and for some time, because he was running almost 3 seconds slower at points than his fastest lap.
Yeah, and after he ran down the top 5, you can't say the 24 didn't deserve to win it.
Absolutely. And from the pole, maybe not the way he envisioned it, but he's going to keep it in P1.
Whatever works. And it will be the 24.
You got to feel for Dale Jr., however.
Absolutely. All those guys who were in the top 5, that was so close. Just, if you get a couple more laps in that race, Dale Jr. probably seeing his first victory in almost 4 years. His last win, 2002 Talladega 1.
And very, very unfortunate for those guys, but jubilation on the 24 pit box, because they played it picture perfect.
But at the end of the day, a fun race all around, and Jeff Gordon from the pole, your race winner in race number 3. Couple of Hendrick wins in a row. And Brian Vickers, despite he finishes 17th today, is going to have most laps led by just 2 over the 24 car. He led 31 today, so him and the 57, a big shout out to them and their fantastic runs today. It's a shame that neither of them come home with a top 10. Vickers not even a top 15, but those are noteworthy runs. They had absolutely fantastic races today and arguably the best cars on the track at points. But that'll do it here from Rockingham with Jeff Gordon in the 24 taking the race win here in the Subway 400. Next week, from round number 4, it'll be Milwaukee for the Miller High Life 400, but we'll catch you then. On behalf of Nathan joining me in the booth tonight, I'm Caden Reif, and we'll see you then. And as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.